And we are live. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all feeling well. The day is July 23rd, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. where Bryan's at, and either AM or PM of some other time everywhere else around the world. So thank you all very much for joining us today. We got a very special live stream. As you can see, the title of today's live stream is Physical and Spiritual Mastery, a conversation that will change you. Now, I will say, any conversation that you're ever going to hear with Bryan Ardis is a conversation that will change you. But this one is a special one because we're going to be diving into a lot of the fundamentals of how certain things work from a physical standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint. As many of you know, Dr. Bryan Ardis and Aaron Abke and soon to be Robert Edward Grant are going to be joining us for an incredible event called Becoming Superhuman. And it's all about the topics that we're going to be discussing today. But the reason why I asked Dr. Bryan Ardis to join us today is because I wanted him to give a little glimpse into what he's going to be sharing. I'm going to be doing the same thing. And just to give you guys some really good positive ammunition on how to live your day-to-day life in the most positive way. So first and foremost, Bryan, thank you very much for being here.
It is great to be here, Jason. I'm excited to spend some time with you, some time with the audience here, and God bless you all. I hope you're having a great time. There's been so many things I've learned over the last 25, 28 years as an adult that I was not presented with as ways to improve my living experience prior to that growing up. And it has been an awesome journey of my own that I've also taken tens of thousands of patients through around the world and through my practice and through our digital platforms. It's been amazing to watch people's lives transform, and very excited about the event coming up in January.
It's going
And
to be
very, very
awesome.
honored to be a part of it. It's going to be very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. So here's what I want to do. You and I have had many experiences together, both with family, just me and you, a lot of experiences. I've learned a lot. One of the things of many that I'm going to be covering here, and we could talk about it today, but I want to start with you. One of the things I'm going to be covering are the fundamental laws, if you will, the fundamental laws of how reality works, how energy works, because as we know, all physical reality is rooted and dictated by, call them the spiritual laws, the laws of energy, whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm talking about. And one of the things that stand out to me about you is you know all this stuff about the medical world, and yet you're so deeply connected to the spiritual essence and the energetic essence of it all. And one of the really interesting things that you've actually done on me comes from Dr. Bradley Nelson, the body code, the emotion code, somebody you've worked with directly. And you did this method and this technique on me all about releasing trapped emotions that I know you're going to be bringing forth in the event as well. But before we continue into everything that I'm going to share and you're going to share, I really want to start with that on the foundation of what that is, why it's so important to go through processes like that, to let go of trapped emotions, and to even begin, what the hell is a trapped emotion and how do you go about getting rid of it?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so let's dive right in here. All right, so I had to learn all this, break it down because this wasn't stuff I was taught by my parents or by medical professionals where I was being raised and seeing pediatricians my whole life being brought up. This wasn't normal for me. I had to learn these things as life went on. So usually what happens is there's usually some kind of traumatic event, some kind of moment that shakes you and goes, "Wait, something's wrong here," or "I need help." And when you receive that help, oh my goodness, it transforms your reality of hope for everything in the future for everybody else. So I'll just give you a specific example.
Mhm.
So I sold a practice in 2009, and I sold that practice in Tennessee and moved to Texas. Now, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that something horrific was brought to the surface of my subconscious, now conscious awareness that created some physical reaction in me that lasted for the next 10 months.
Wow.
Okay, this is what happened. I literally felt an impression, Jason. I heard a voice. I've heard voices in my life before, not very often, once, twice, three times. I will hear an audible word in my right ear, typically. "Hey, you need to go do this." And this time in 2009, it was, "Get your family to Dallas, Texas." Now, I was not looking for this information. I was actually on a phone call with my dad and heard this loud audible noise in my ear. And I went like this in the same ear I was talking on the phone. I went like this, uh, Dallas, Texas? And my dad goes, no, Dallas, Arizona. Now, we weren't talking about Dallas. So when I went, Dallas, Texas, I was actually talking to the voice, and my dad's like, no, 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 I'm talking about Dallas, Arizona. And I was like, Dad, I'm not even talking to you right now. I'm going to hang up. I just heard something. I've got to go pray about this, meditate on it, and figure out what the world this is. The next day, Jason, I put my house on the market after spending time in prayer and
In
getting
one
this.
day?
And one day I got this download that peace, love, fulfillment was waiting for you in Dallas, Texas. And you got to move your whole family there. I had a wife, 4 kids, and I had a practice, my own practice. I had no plans on moving ever. I loved where I lived. I was backed up right up to the Smoky Mountains National Park. It's where I wanted to live since I was a kid and have a practice there, and it was amazing. But I was there 5 years and then get this impression. I sell the practice. When I sell the practice and move, I mean, I put the house on the market the next day. It sold within 24 hours. The family had to be moved in within 2 weeks. I had to move my family to Dallas, and I flew back and forth every week to see my patients in Tennessee. A
Everybody
year,
think you were like insane?
yes.
Okay. And
Now
how
this,
before you even continue, how do you trust a voice like that telling you to do something so drastic and actually do it?
yeah, I've actually I have a deep spiritual connection, I believe, to my soul and spirit, and do believe very much so that there is a creator and I'm not alone in this universe. And I believe he communicates directly with me. And I believe there have been moments where he tells me to do stuff, avoid stuff. And I believe my life has been changed, literally, physically saved as a result of listening to those promptings. And they've only come, like I said, probably 3 or 4 times in my life. I'll hear an audible message or declaration. I will follow it, and it has been amazing. Actually, every time it has been amazing. But I didn't want it. There was no part of me that wanted to move to Dallas. I went to
Yeah.
chiropractic school in Dallas. I didn't want any part of this. So I'm just giving you an example here
Okay,
of
okay.
how I was transformed by emotional release work that I did not know was even a thing in 2009. Okay? I get this impression. I get hear audible voice to move my family to Dallas. I put my house on the market the next day that I resented because I love this home I built. Now, this is 2009. Jason, do you remember the 2008, 2009 home crisis? Not a
Yes.
single home had sold in my entire higher level echelon neighborhood. No one had sold a home in 3 years. I put my house on the market. It sold in 24 hours, and the family had to be moved in 2 weeks from North Carolina. So I
Wow.
had to be out in 2 weeks and go find a home in Dallas. I moved to Dallas. I flew to Dallas. We got there, bought a home, moved there. When I come back, I'm flying back every week for a year. I hire a new doctor to train and sell that practice to eventually a year later. When I sell the practice and she hands me the check, literally the payment for the office, I walk out the door. And from that moment and for the next 10 months, Jason, I don't leave my house in Dallas. I literally am stuck in a recliner or on the couch, and I am super depressed. I literally have no ambition, no motivation, no drive. I don't want to do anything.
It was
Nothing.
probably in that moment you're like, maybe I messed up here.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what happened. So this was really odd to me because I'm very active. People all around the world right now tell me, "Oh my God, I see you everywhere." Yeah, I feel like I'm physically everywhere and digitally everywhere. I mean, I'm very active, always antsy, always high energy, and all of a sudden, I had no want to do anything. In fact, I didn't know what the issue was. However, I will just tell you, full transparency. My ex-wife walks up to me and goes like this: "Hey, our mortgage is due in 2 weeks." And that mortgage is however many thousands of dollars. And just so you know, we have less than that remaining in the bank in total.
Well,
And I was like, what? I mean, when I say I checked out, I was checked out for like 10 months in this
oh,
weird funk. I couldn't do anything. Now, this is the moment I went like this. All right, I'm going to go fly and visit a doctor that I knew. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was.
yeah.
And it was more than just being depressed about moving from my place I wanted to live in Tennessee. I fly to Seattle and spend $1,000 round trip to go to Seattle. 1,000 of my last $2,000. I fly up there
I-
and I have this lady check me out, like check me out physically to find out what is the physical problem with me. And as she does the evaluation on me, she wraps up the evaluation and she looks at me and goes, "Hey, Dr. Ardis, from the time I met you 10 years ago, I've learned a few more things since seeing you." And I said, "Oh, yeah, what's that?" And she goes, um, "It's not necessarily true anymore for me, the doctor." She says, "It's not true anymore for me that there's a pill for every ill.
mm,
There are some issues with people that don't require a medication, and it's all, or a supplement or a detoxing thing, nothing physical. It's all emotional, and they have trapped emotions. First time I've ever heard this in my life.
Okay.
So let me explain to you what happened to me. Are you okay with this, Jason?
I'm ready. Go for it.
I'm laying on the counter in the laying on the bed in the room, treatment room. The lady asked me, her name's Dr. Jeanette Birnbach. She looks at me and she goes like this, Dr. Ardis. And if you're looking for her, she's in Redmond, just south of Seattle by Bellevue. Look for Dr. Jeanette Birnbach. Oh my gosh, she's an amazing human and healer. All right, some people have the gift of healing. She's one of them. So I'm laying there on the bed, and she does this evaluation, and she looks at me and goes like this. I know you went through some training with me 10 years ago, and I knew nothing about the stuff I'm about to talk to you about, but there's nothing physically wrong with you. And she looked at me and she goes, what do you think is wrong with you? And I started crying, Jason, for the next hour. I couldn't stop bawling, crying. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And she looks at me and goes, you look like a shell of the human being I knew 10 years ago. Yeah, because I was quiet, subdued, on the brink of tears all the time. And I didn't know what it was. Anyway, she goes, I just want you to know, I'm going to do an emotional release work on you. This is what got me to learn from Bradley Nelson the emotion code work. Okay. She
Were
does
you
not.
open to it? Were you open to it in the beginning when she first said it?
Yes, I trusted this lady complicitly from what she taught me years ago and how she helped cure my daughter of asthma overnight. 10 to 12 asthma attacks for 2.5 years, gone overnight without a drug. It was amazing. So I trusted this lady fully. She looks at me and says, I'm going to do this testing. Don't say a word. I'm going to tell you what happened to you and why you're acting this way. Okay. And I don't say a word. I'm just laying there. And she goes through this muscle testing analysis on me that is called ART, autonomic response testing. She goes through this technique, and then she's telling me what she's finding as she's doing this. And she goes, okay, Dr. Ardis, all of the reasons why you're sitting at home unmotivated to do anything in life is because of something that happened to you when you were 11 years old. Now, this lady has never known me but in the last 10 years. And so she never knew me when I was a kid. So I went like this, okay. And she goes, so just so you know, I'm about to find out what's the topic surrounding this event. Like, what was the trauma that happened when you were 11?
What is
And
she
then,
doing to you as she's pinpointing
yeah,
this?
she's just muscle testing me. She's using my arm and she's muscle testing me and seeing how my mind is reacting to these questions she's either asking internally or externally with her mouth.
And when you say your mind, you're talking about the subconscious.
The subconscious. Yep. So you can evaluate respond. The human body will respond to anything unconscious, right? So you can have unconscious triggers, conscious triggers, and the subconscious part of your brain controls all autonomic function of the body. For example, you don't tell yourself to digest food after you swallow it. The body does it all by itself.
I would hope not.
Yeah, you don't have to think about that. I don't have to think about telling my heart to beat. It beats all by itself. My
Yeah.
subconscious controls all that. It has control over your physical body. It controls all that all the time without you thinking. So this lady is using muscles to analyze questions of what my subconscious is aware of is causing my year-long plight. Okay? So she's just asking questions and checking the responses. Then she tells me what comes back as positive or true. So in my case, something happened to me when I was 11, and she says, and it's surrounding money. So she goes, so I need to know, what is it about finances that comes up for you when you're 11? I said, now just so everybody knows right now, if you think this isn't of interest to you, no one would even know who I am right now if this never happened to me in 2009. I would still be sitting in that house trying to figure out why I'm so depressed and unengaged in life. So thank God to Jeanette doing this to me 16 years ago.
Yeah.
She looks at me and says, what is it that happened to you surrounding finances when you were 11? And I went like this. I was so out of my mind, I could not even rationally think or follow her speaking. I actually said to her, how old was I? And she goes, you were 11. And I said, what grade would I have been in? And she goes, fifth or sixth grade. And I sat there for a second and I looked at her and I said, well, I didn't lose in a lemonade stand when I was 11. You know, I was just kind of being sarcastic because I didn't know this technique at all, had never experienced it. So I'm just kind of like, whatever. What's this got to do with now? Anyway, I'm like, I didn't lose a lemonade stand if that's what you're asking me. And she goes, no, no, no. She actually puts my arm down, gets in my face and goes, I could not be more serious. What happened to you when you were 11 years old in either fifth or sixth grade around money that could be affecting you right now? She goes, I just need you to review your 11th year of life. Tell me what happened surrounding money that you can remember or recall. And this is not a joke. I went just like this. My dad filed bankruptcy when I was in sixth grade.
Wow.
And she goes, all right, well, let's just see if that's it. And she goes, oh my God, that's it. She goes, yeah, that's it. She goes, now, what is it about your dad filing bankruptcy when you were 11 is impacting you today? I didn't know anything about, I didn't know any of this. All I knew is I was aware my dad filed bankruptcy, was telling my mother, and I was the oldest of five kids. And at age 11, I heard the conversation in the living room. None of my other siblings did. And I knew, I thought my parents were going to divorce over this argument of his lost business money with his partnership who stole all of his money, his business partner, who was his best friend of the family. It sucked. So
Wow.
his everything was in my dad's name. He lost all of his landscaping business, all the equipment, tractors, trucks, everything was in my dad's name, and the guy stole all the cash from the company. He had to file bankruptcy. My dad did. All right, so this had horrible reverberations in my
Repercussions.
family.
Yeah.
So I looked at her. I said, "Oh, my dad filed bankruptcy when I was 11." So she muscle tested me. She goes, "That is it." And she goes, "Let's find out what it is about your dad filing bankruptcy that is affecting you right now." And she was able to determine that I had told myself at age 11 that because my dad went bankrupt, I would go bankrupt someday.
It was like an unresolved sort of thing
There
moving.
was this unresolved fear and a moment in which I told myself, this, if this is going to happen to my dad, it's going to happen to me.
Yeah.
So when I sold my practice, because I was like, I don't understand how this affects me though. I sold my practice and I have more money than I've ever had in my whole life and sold a home, first home I've ever bought, and I made a ton of money off of that. I had more money than ever. Why would I be in this funk right now about going bankrupt one day? And she goes, no, no, let me do some testing on you, which is what we're going to demonstrate at the event. When I'm there, you're going to see it's pretty amazing. She goes, let me see if I can determine for you what it is that happened to you. I sold my practice and I moved my family first to a different state. What no one knows here listening to this story, except for Dr. Jeanette Birnbach, my dad filed bankruptcy. I was living in Columbus, Georgia. All my other siblings were born there, basically. Three sisters were born there. My brother was born in New Orleans, but we were all in Columbus, Georgia for years. All of our friendships, all of our lives were there. My dad couldn't find a job for a year after filing bankruptcy and had to move us hours away to another city away from everything we knew. And
Wow.
guess what I just did with my family? I
Same thing.
just sold the home, sold a practice, and then I moved them to another state. And this upheaval of losing a job, but I sold the job, but my brain, my subconscious literally took it as you don't have a job anymore and you don't have a way to pay the bills. And I was literally creating the belief I had established at age 11 that I would go bankrupt. And there was no way I was going to make money in Texas. Somehow my subconscious decided this, even though it's very weird. So it just defined this was the moment. You uprooted your family and moved just like your dad did when you were 11, and you are going bankrupt. Now we have to replace your negative thinking around money and going bankrupt, and we have to replace it with there's a plenty of money to go around and you can redo what you did in Tennessee. And she did these emotional release techniques with me called EFT, emotional freedom technique, and tapping, and then did some affirmations and some emotion code release work. And it, not
What period of time did all of this take when you were with her?
I fly back home that next day. It was 2 weeks later. I'm not joking. At the time, I'm like tapping different acupuncture points and saying affirmations she worked out to
Yeah.
replace my negative thoughts about going bankrupt. And not a joke, Jason. For 2 weeks, I'm sitting in the same recliner at home going like this. This is the dumbest stuff ever. I'm tapping these points, saying these affirmations. Just because my dad went bankrupt doesn't mean I will, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. There's always plenty. I'm going to be affluent like I was before, da, da, whatever. And all of a sudden, the whole time I'm thinking this is just dumb. The whole time, as I'm doing this one day, all of a sudden I'm like looking at myself, looking at my hands, and I look up. Now, what I was doing was tapping two acupuncture points together. See those 2 points? I'm actually tapping them together instead of doing individual. So I was just doing it like this and saying this affirmation, and I'm like this. What is wrong with me? I'm not joking. There's so like, what is wrong with me? What am I doing in this house? Jason, it was a moment and the whole depression left. I mean, all of it. And it was like this weird cloud like Eeyore has over his brain and head the whole time in the Winnie the Pooh series. This cloud just disappeared. And it was like there was no memory ever again of this scenario. I actually left the house, got in a car, drove down to Main Street in Frisco, Texas, knocked on every door of every store owner, of every entrepreneur there, introduced themselves, introduced myself to all of them, all their customers that were in the store at the time, and told them in 2 weeks I'm going to be opening up a clinic here. And this clinic, in the next 9 years, first month I had 96 new patients. Over the next 9 years, I had 16,000 patients from 16 countries, and I never slowed down. All I had to do was get this crap out of me. Now, as a result of this massive shift in my reality and how life occurred for me all of a sudden, when within 2 weeks, all the money I needed was in the bank, all costs were there, were covered within the first 2 weeks of me opening my practice. This is not a joke. I already worked it out. My total needs for money was like $6,800 in the first month. I made $12,800 in the first 2 weeks when I went
Wow.
back into practice. And then it was just game over. Then it was just lots of money, cash practice, blah, 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 just took off. It was just amazing. In fact, it was so amazing, I retired 9 years later at age 41. That's how good it was.
Wow.
So
Wow.
if you ever think that emotions and trapped emotions don't have an impact on you, or things that have happened to you in your childhood don't impact you, they literally destroy your whole life. If you don't recognize that potential and you don't have tools to figure out what they are and then learn tools to release them. As a result of my experience with emotions and my entire life being transformed, saved by Jeanette Birnbach and this EFT affirmations technique, I decided to go buy books on how to recognize on my own what trapped emotions do I have versus having to fly to Seattle all the time to get help. Okay? So our goal here with this superhuman, becoming superhuman initiative, we don't want to be the ones teaching you how to do everything. Don't you remember the old adage, the old parable? If you can fish for somebody and feed them for a day, or you can teach them how to fish and they can feed themselves for a lifetime. This is what the purpose of my events are. This is the purposes of our conference. This is why you need to be at Transformation to become superhuman. You need to learn the techniques I use every single day, Jason. I use the emotion code, which became the most simple tool I found in reading all these books on how to do self-analysis on trapped emotions. It was the most practical, easy way to identify your own trapped emotions, what age you were when it happened, who did this to you, all by yourself without having to go to a therapist to try to figure it out, or a
So now
hypnotist.
you're able to do it to yourself,
I do
correct?
it every day.
Wow.
I
Wow.
have done I have done emotion code work on me, my wife, every one of my kids for the last 16 years, every day.
Wow. And now if I'm somebody coming to becoming superhuman, I mean, in this situation, this story, you flew out to Seattle, you were there, you had dedicated time. How do you plan on bringing something like that to people that are on the ground? There's a 3-day event. You have your period of time. You're doing what you're doing. What can somebody expect when they come from your part of the event?
Yeah, we're going to teach you how to trust your own body's ability to analyze itself with questions you ask yourself. I'm not even joking. This sounds really weird, but the questions your medical doctor asks you, they ask you questions, you have to tell them back. Did you know that your body will physically react to true and false statements when you ask it questions?
I learned the sway test, for example,
There you
where
go. Here's a perfect example of something we will demonstrate for ease and simplicity that everybody can get and see and feel in like 5 seconds, where they've never done this before. They've never intuitively spent time inside their body and went, hey, how does my body respond to thoughts, questions, feelings, memories, objects that are around me? How does my body react to it? All right, so I'm going to demonstrate to you the sway test. It's the easiest way to teach this to you. It's also in the first 2 chapters of the emotion code book, how to use the sway test to analyze. And they even teach you the series of questions to ask in order and a chart to reference to figure out which emotion is trapped in that part of the body based on the responses your body does with its self-analysis.
is
Now,
this something that you'll be able to actually perform on individuals right there in person live and do it for minutes at a time on multiple different types of individuals?
all day, every day,
That's huge.
all day, every day, all day, all day, every day, anytime. I do emotional release work in airports. I do it at shoe stores, the malls. It doesn't matter. I've done it everywhere you can think of. I'm not even joking. Every place I've ever, movie theaters, I've done it everywhere. I've done emotional release work on people, family member, friends, patients, you name it, all over the world, everywhere. That's what's so incredible about the tool. You don't need to wait for an appointment, nor do you need an appointment anywhere. You can do it yourself right now, today. You can do it. It's going to be amazing. So, the emotion code book I bought is one of the many books I bought to start reading the impacts of emotion. So, in preparation for Miami's event, I'm telling you, nobody would even know who I was if it wasn't for me flying to Seattle and having this lady literally help me identify what was the underlying childhood trauma that literally had I made self declarations about how my life was going to occur, and I had to get those incorrect bad beliefs out of me that I had resigned to as a kid were absolutely going to happen to me. And oh my goodness, life has been
Oh,
so
amazing.
incredible since then. So, and the emotion code has provided spiritual, emotional, financial, relationship benefits. Everywhere in my life has improved as I've had learned in the last 16 years the impact of trapped emotions on us. Now, our brain, we only use 10% of our brains per neuroscientist. We only use 10% of our brains. 90% of our brain is made up of subconscious material, which means it's stored information of our entire life. So everything we've ever seen, smelled, heard, whatever. This is why whenever you smell something, you could smell honey in someone's hotel restaurant and it could take you back to a childhood memory of being in a honeysuckle field and you can visualize it. Yes, your subconscious remembers everything you've seen, everything you've heard, everything you smelled, everything you've read is all stored in there. And the way you felt about all of that is also stored in there in your
Terrific.
subconscious. And that subconscious controls every part of the human frame. Remember, I just said earlier, you don't control your heartbeat, you don't control digestion, you don't. You don't even think about standing, which requires muscles and ligaments and tendons to fire to keep you erect. You don't think, okay, feet, calves, shin muscles, fire so I can stand erect. Notice you don't think about any of that stuff. Your subconscious controls all of that, and your subconscious has all those stored traumas and memories. And if you don't recognize that there is what is called in science a psychosomatic, psycho meaning mind, somatic meaning physical organs, connection, oh my goodness. If you have stored traumas here, your body physically is reacting to it.
100%.
You could have chronic inflammation, heart disease, diabetes simply from emotional trauma that you've just never recognized, learned, analyzed, removed yourself, or got somebody else to help you. So,
Is is there a
massive.
way to do that work in mass? Or do you
Absolutely.
have, there is.
Yes. Oh, you
Okay.
mean for like whole groups? Can I release all the emotions for
A
you as a
group
group?
can you do it a group at a time? Does it work that way?
I've never even thought to do that because when you're in practice, right? Everybody comes to you one on one. Hey, can you tell me what's wrong with me? Sure. There could be though societal. I could see big groups who all think the same way. The truth is, most of your problems. This is very true. I'm really sorry. That would be a hard one. Most of our issues come from our childhood, and not everybody's childhood was in a group, unless you're in some cult somewhere, all raised in the same house, one single person talking to a group of kids, raising them in the Nexium cult, and now you have all these weird sex taboo traumas. Yeah, I mean that could be, but it's
Well,
usually
I know when it
between the
comes to
ages 0 to 8.
releasing trapped emotions, you can use a proxy, let's say, right? And you can
100%.
work on me while using your wife as the proxy to
Right.
connect and kind of take that place. Can you use a proxy to connect to the energy of a group? Let's say at becoming superhuman, and
Sure.
everybody has feelings of guilt and fear and lovelessness and all these things that we're experiencing. Is it possible to use a proxy to connect to the group to do something collectively while also doing things individually that you'll do during that event?
Well, I'm absolutely convinced that if we used you as a proxy, I could proxy you for the whole group in the audience, and I could find out,
Well, and I think we're
can
going to
we
do that.
dispel, can we identify any overlooming themes in the subconscious of everyone in this group? Maybe there's doubt in becoming superhuman because I've been sick forever or whatever, right? Or I've been so thin, rail thin and weak and puny. I don't know. Maybe there's a whole group think tank that of doubt. Doubt would be number one, or fear or anxiety, right? So yes, we could probably do that and test it in front of everybody and see, can we actually as a group identify as a group, a think tank group, is there an overlooming multiple emotions that are hindering all of them from grasping these concepts. And we can do that. Is there doubt, fear,
It's really
anxiety,
cool.
panic? What is it? And
It
then we
makes
can,
sense. It makes sense when you understand the mechanism. It just
of
makes
course.
sense.
Yep. Oh, and proxies are amazing. In fact, I don't want to get, please don't think anything I'm about to say is weird. I have proven that all of these concepts work, and I was the most skeptical of all human beings. You just have to know this guy, Jason, you know my story. I was born and raised in the Mormon church, multi generational. Do you know that my entire life, I was told that healing from any physical or mental problem only comes from one place?
Which is
A man in the Mormon church who has been found worthy and righteous enough to have bestowed on him by another righteous, worthy man
are we talking
something
about Joseph Smith?
something called the Melchizedek priesthood that allows that individual to lay his hand on sick people to heal them from sickness and illness. That is the only place healing comes from. Now, you have to understand that's odd to many of you, but to me, that's all I knew. So you have to understand, I had this really tough mindset going into med school, chiropractic school, where I'm learning how the body heals itself. And I'm like, wait. Even medicines, vaccines, supplements, detoxing stuff, that goes against what I was taught every day. No, you need a worthy male, older than you typically, who has this special power given to them by God to heal people. And
Hmm.
that's the only place healing comes from. Okay, so when I talk about what I'm about to say, you have to know I had to come a long way to go, you know what? I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if chiropractic can heal anything. It takes a Melchizedek priesthood holder who's wearing Mormon temple underwear and goes to the temple to bless me, to heal me. Healing doesn't come anywhere else. I mean, that's what I know. Okay, so when I say what I'm about to say, you have to know you haven't gone through the stuff I've gone through, most likely, unless you were born and raised in the Mormon church to believe about healing. The only place it comes from is from a man in the Mormon church. Okay, unless you raised in the Mormon church, you won't get this. It won't be as significant to you, what I'm about to say. I have learned over time that the things I was told I had to let go of because these were just conditioned program beliefs that were not actually true in life. But I had to learn these over time. Okay, healing does not just come from the Mormon church, from just a few men who have a power to lay their hands on you and heal you. No. Every human being on the planet, regardless if there's a Mormon dude standing there with an invisible power, if they broke their arm and I put a cast around it and made sure the two broken ends were close enough together, they're going to heal each other with or without a man telling you it will heal.
Yep.
It will happen 100% of the time. You cannot tell me that only healing comes from this priesthood, this weird witchcraft thing. No, that's not true. But you have to be open to observe life and question the things you've been told. It took me a long time to figure out, Jason, that I could heal people and analyze people energetically, spiritually, frequency wise, remotely. Like someone in Egypt or someone in China, someone in India wants my help. Just so everyone, I'm be very honest with you here. I can figure out what's wrong with anybody in any country without them ever even talking to me.
You
You
know,
can give me
there's
you can give me their name, tell me their location, and I'm not the only one that can do this. There are many people who have had gifts of healing given to them that they can analyze spiritually what is physically creating problems in people anywhere in the entire world, and you don't have to be sitting in front of them. You don't need an x-ray. You don't need a blood test. You don't need any of that stuff. I have people 24/7, 16,000 patients in practice who all knew I could do this and only trusted me to do it. And to this day, people to this day, even during COVID, my own kids at different universities will call me and go, "Hey, Dad, can you release emotions for me? I feel this weird thing and I don't know what it is, but can you please tell me what it is?" And I'd be standing in a conference or in Jason's house and I would be like, "Honey, my wife, come here, honey. My son Braden's got an issue. He's in college right now. He's got some depression, some anxiety, something. I need to release emotions from him and figure out what they are because he doesn't know what they are." And within minutes, he's texting me going, "I feel better already, Dad. Thanks." I didn't know I could do that. I was told you had to physically lay your hands on somebody, a man with some priesthood, to heal anybody, anywhere, physically, hands on, had to be present. It doesn't happen any other way. Then I was told if that wasn't true, you only had drugs, vaccines, and surgery. That ain't true either. Then I learned about chiropractic, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought it was just the priesthood in the Mormon church. What is this universal innate intelligence of the immune system? What are y'all talking about? Y'all are freaking psycho. That's how I thought. It took a long time for me to use common sense and rationale outside of the cult-like tactics of programming and MK Ultra crap we're all conditioned with to understand common sense, logic, and experience can prove otherwise. So everything I'm telling you here, you as an individual can analyze yourself for the 9 things that cause every disease and every symptom. There are 9 things I've found in everybody are the causes for their illness and their suffering. Would you like to know what they are?
Yes, please.
You're going to hear about them at the conference. If you want to be superhuman, you better
Go
know what
for
are
it.
the causes to make you not superhuman. What's the opposite of superhuman? Pathetic. All right, so if you're not superhuman, you're pathetic. All right, so the things that make a person pathetic, there are 9 things. Ready? So if you feel pathetic and you don't want to feel pathetic, it's one of these 9 things that are doing it. Number 1, you have a food allergy or a food sensitivity. It could be
Okay.
corn, wheat, soy, dairy. Number 2, it's an infection of some sort. Bacteria, viral, fungal, parasitic. That's infections. Those can be in a hormone gland. They can create problems. You can feel bad all the time. All right, so number 1, food allergies or sensitivities, something you're eating. Number 2, it's infections in your body that haven't been identified. Number 3, it's heavy metal poisonings like aluminum, cadmium, barium, mercury, you name it. Number 4, toxic chemical toxicities. That could be anything from prescription drugs, fluoride in your water. It could be all kinds of stuff. Vaccines, ingredients. All right, then number 5 would be a misalignment in the spine. Can create any disease and symptom on the earth. That's a
Really?
chiropractic issue. Absolutely, 100%. I'll show you graphs at the conference how every cell of the human body is connected to your brain and your spinal cord. And if that thing ain't straight and aligned, you will have every symptom that they can drug you for in the medical
Wow.
profession.
Okay.
All right. So, oh, just so you know, I've had many people come to me and they're like, we've been to many IVF clinics, if y'all know what that is, in vitro fertilization. I can't get pregnant, so we're going to this IVF center. And then when I analyze them, they actually only have a misalignment of L5, L4, their pelvis, and then I adjust them, and within 2 weeks, they're pregnant. And they had nothing to do with their hormones. It had everything to do with they were out of alignment, just so you know.
Okay.
Oh, an asthma attack, by the way, is not albuterol inhaler deficiency. T1 to T4 in your spine. If I adjust anybody with an asthma attack and I adjust one bone between T1 and T4, their asthma attack will stop instantly.
That's the
Instantly.
craziest thing I've ever heard.
I have even adjusted a young 16-year-old girl who was in a full asthma attack, couldn't breathe, was on the ground, grandmother trying to get her up and put her in the car to drive her home for her inhaler. I walked over and I said, "Are you okay? Is she seizuring out?" "No, she's having an asthma attack." I literally picked her up, put my hand behind her back, and actually did an adjustment from the front and adjusted her upper back with my hand behind her up against the window of her grandmother's car. Instantly, the asthma attack ended. That was in a Walmart parking lot in East Tennessee, by the way, in 2004. So don't tell me this doesn't work. This is exactly what you're not told by the medical profession. Number 5 is a misalignment in your spine, and you had no idea. That's okay. I'm going to teach you. Don't worry. All right. That's number 5. Number 6 is a external scar on your body can create every disease on earth.
What? But external scars everyone has.
Yeah.
So how do you fix that?
People do. All right, so the most problematic scars on the outside of the body that cause physical symptoms. For example, fibromyalgia, diabetes, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, metabolic disorders, depression, schizophrenia, anxiety. The most common scars that create those problems. Physically, it's just a scar on the outside of the body. Are scars along the midline. And at Becoming Superhuman event, I'm going to show you all the acupuncture meridians that are just in the skin and where scars on the midline cross those meridians and block energy flow to the organs they supply energy to. The most common scars that lead to fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism, dementia, and all the other things I just described are heart surgery scars right in the middle, C-section scars, every single one of them, gallbladder scars, all of them, anything that goes into the belly button, seriously, that's on the midline, and then perennial tears or episiotomies,
What's episiotomies?
where they cut the actual vaginal opening open for you to give birth without tearing. Tearing is a perennial tear. Episiotomy is cutting the actual vaginal opening more, and then they will stitch it up after the birth. That scar, those scars are the most problematic. So we're going to teach you about that. I cannot tell you, there's been many people, I didn't do any emotional release work on them. I didn't give them any supplements. It just was a scar that debilitated them with fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism for decades. And all I had to do was get them to put vitamin E oil onto the scar for 5 minutes twice a day. 4 to 6 weeks, guaranteed all of their symptoms are gone forever,
No matter how old the scar is.
no matter how old.
Wow, this is crazy stuff.
Transformative. Okay,
Okay, so
so that's
that's
number
six.
six.
What are the other three?
That's number six. Number seven is emotional trauma or trapped emotions, as I call them. And this
Yep.
is where you'd get into EFT work. This is where you'd get into the emotion code work or tapping work or affirmations, whatever you choose. But I'm going to be solely picking on the emotion code. It's too simple to ignore. Everybody can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Truly, if I can do it, you can do it. Remember, I came from the Mormon church. You only need Mormon men to heal you. No, nope, nope. That's not true. I had to figure that out. No, you can even heal yourself, ladies, children, teenagers, seniors. You can all heal yourself. You don't need no man with authority, some authority, to do it. You don't need that. All right. All right. So then that emotion code, we're going to teach you about emotions and its impact. And then you get to emotional trauma. The next one is mineral and vitamin deficiencies, and they are specific. Mineral and vitamin deficiencies.
Okay.
Got it? Okay. Now there is a ninth. Now, when patients came to me, I never even knew this was an issue. So I only had these 8. I just mentioned food, infections, toxic chemicals, heavy metals, scar tissue, subluxations or misalignments in the spine. And then we talked about scars. And then we talked about mineral and vitamin deficiencies specifically. Okay. The ninth one, I didn't even know existed, but the ninth one is very specific. It's actually external toxins, and that would be like EMF radiation, 5G radiation. This is very toxic. And I've had to throw venoms in there because venoms don't fit any of those other categories. And this is all new for me in the last 3.5 years for those of you that know me. There's been venoms put into your drugs, vaccines, cosmetics, and in our crops, and they've never told you this. And these venoms don't leave the body for 10 to 14 years, and they wreak havoc on every single system of the human body. So, and then EMFs, radiation, grounding would be the technique to address that. Detoxing venoms and poisons out of the body they call viruses would be that last one. So there you go. Those are your 9.
Really, really, there are few things here that are obvious. The misalignment of the spine I've never heard of before. The external scars on your body is mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
Trapped emotions they're just so interesting. And I wanted to share a quick thing, a quick experience I had with you actually, because everything that you're saying here is stories that you've had, stories, experiences that you've actually gone through. And I want to back one of them up because I've had my own experience with you with proxies. And this is actually where I learned about them with you. And without going too much into detail for, privacy purposes and whatnot of other individuals, I called you one day about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, whatever. And I'm like, hey, Noah, my girlfriend at the time, now my fiance, I said, we're experiencing this and she's experiencing this, but we don't know what's wrong. Can you do your weird thing and let me know? Now, just so everybody understands, Bryan was in Texas. I was in Miami. I called him one morning because Noah had certain things going on. And I said, Noah, let's call Bryan and see what he says. She said, but what's he going to be able to do? He's not here. I said, I don't know. He's weird. He's going to figure it out. So let's so let's figure it out. So we called Bryan. I put him on speaker, and I told you whatever we were seeing that was going on with symptoms, and you used your wife Jane as a proxy. I think you called me back like 5 minutes later, and you said, "Hey, Jason, I know what the problem is. It's this and this and this. Do X, Y, and Z." One of them were using, I forgot which essential oil, but one of the essential oils, put in her belly button, put this many drops, this many times a day, a few other things. 7 days later, everything was gone. So I'm sharing that because when Bryan says what he's saying, he's not exaggerating. Like it's real. It's real. You don't need to be with the person. The beautiful part over here is we're going to be with each other at the event, so it only adds more to it. But it was hard for me to believe too. And when I call it weird, I'm saying it as a joke, but it's weird. It's weird that I can call you and you can in 5 minutes do some muscle testing using somebody else as a host to be able to connect to somebody else's subconscious, tell me the issue, and then I literally take actionable steps with this product and this product and this thing to do, and then it's gone. And that changes the way that we go about everything because it shows you. And one of the things you showed me, Bryan, is how what most people call impossible is it's not only possible, it's very real. It's a reality. And the reason why I'm so excited to have you at this event and have you be such a big part of it alongside me is because I learn from you every single day. And the things that you teach and the things that you share, most people, especially the most intelligent people in the world that have all the degrees in the world, don't know. And I think you have a gift. I know you have a gift of simplifying it, where you take the all this stuff and you say it's not that complicated. Here's what's going on. You just did it with those 9 things that you showed us. Here's what's going on. Here's what to look for. Here's what you could do. And here are the steps to do it. And I mean, imagine the world where they don't need to call people like Bryan all the time. But Bryan doesn't give them the fish, but teaches them how to fish. And that's all of our roles and events like this and beyond. It's not to say, hey, I'm just going to show you a piece of it. And then whenever you have a problem, keep calling me. Nobody wants that. As a matter of fact, you would never be able to be successful in the way that you are if you relied on that because you're only one person. How the hell are you going to answer everybody's questions?
I've
But if
tried.
you,
It's very
yeah,
hard.
you can't. But if you show people how to do it, there's no lack. And unfortunately, there's no lack of people that need that help. I hope one day there will be because that means that we're in a much better world. But there is no lack of that. And the more people you can teach, and the more people you can make aware of certain things, the more people are going to be healthier. And by the way, that makes this world a better place for you as well. So in a way, it's not even that selfless. It's selfish too. Because when you're helping somebody else, you're helping yourself. And it's this one big circle of beauty. And that's why I put together these events, and they're not easy. They're not easy to put together. It's a big ass deal. It's huge in terms of the energy and the input and all that. And you know more than anybody, Bryan, because you put together a lot of big events yourself, like Healing for the
Mhm.
Ages. It's no small feat, but it's gratifying because of even these conversations. Like I'm passionate right now because I love this. I love this. And to be able to bring more of it to people, it's the most gratifying thing in the world. And what we said on our last live the other day on Unified TV, I want to bring up again. For me, a big piece of this, just on a personal level, is my father. It's doing it in his honor. It's doing it to elevate his soul. It's doing it to do what he loves so much because you spoke to him for a long time, many times.
Loves that
And
man.
it's just it's so exciting. It's exciting. It's exciting to see where we're going to be in 6 months. And I think it's going to be the beginning of something really big.
Yeah, let me give you something else that could maybe get you excited. The
Please
information and
do.
things we're going to present are going to be like building blocks to where you can actually become the person where you can actually use yourself or someone else as a proxy to help analyze anybody on the planet and find things your medical professionals aren't even trained to look for that could be possible helps for them. One really cool example, if I can just tell a real quick
Yeah,
story
yeah,
here.
yeah. Please, please.
When I was dating my wife now, Jane, when I was dating her, she was working at my office part time. And one night she comes in and she's like, hey, honey, do you want to be a hero to my daughter? And I said, how would I be a hero to your daughter? And she goes, you know, she loves barrel racing and she has a horse. I said, yes. And that horse is at a ranch 2 hours from my office. Okay. I'd never been out there. I just knew that's where it was. And she was an adult, the daughter. And she goes, she was just told by her veterinarian she has to put her horse down that she's had for years.
Oh
And I
man.
said, okay, well, how can I be a hero to your daughter? She goes, 4 years ago, this horse was in the pasture, was found lame in the pasture. Its hoof got stuck in a hole and it ripped the hoof off the bottom of the leg and it was just hanging. They had to do surgery to reattach it. Not a joke, Jason. Her father and the veterinarian and the therapist out there at this ranch had been doing oxygen therapy, like oxygen chamber therapy, on a horse for 4 years every week. You know how
Well,
expensive this is? They were spending $100,000 minimum every year trying to get this horse to rehab where it could be ridden again. Jason, everybody watching, this horse couldn't be ridden at all for 4 years. After 4 years, this horse, his head would be on the ground as he'd walk to try to keep the weight off the foreleg. He had his head down to the ground and would limp everywhere around the pasture and the barn. Now she's being told there is no way this horse is going to recover. It's time to put it down, and you're never going to be able to ride it again. She's calling Jane, crying. Jane comes to the office and asks me if I want to be a hero to my daughters. I said, how's that? Can you heal her horse?
Who'd you use as the proxy for the horse?
And I went like this. I've never worked on a horse. And she's like, I've never even tested a horse or evaluated a horse. So I literally, in my office, went on google.com, typed in anatomy of a horse leg, graphic image. I clicked images and I just printed one out and I wanted to see what are all the ligaments, tendons, bones. I don't know what's wrong with this horse. I've never seen it. I don't know what's wrong with it. So we drive out there 2 hours when I get off work. So at 7, 9 o'clock out there, 9 to 10, the ranch hand brings the horse out. The horse has got its head along the ground, trying to keep the weight off the foreleg. They tie the horse up to the wall in the barn, and I use Jane to touch the horse, and I muscle test every part of that horse's leg. And I find that there is a bacterial infection in one ligament of one of his knee joints. Just this little bitty ligament. And I had a bunch of supplements I brought there just in case there was an infection or a heavy metal poisoning or chemical. I just brought a whole bunch of stuff. And then I muscle tested every one of those ingredients. And not a joke, this is a horse. The horse is ginormous, and it required a lot more supplements than humans test for. So for example, a heart supplement that 3 people would have tested for as human in a day, this horse tested for 30 a meal. And I'm not joking. It tested for like 6 to 9 supplements, 10 to 30 of all of them 3 times a day to heal it.
Whoa.
Now, I couldn't get the horse to eat it. I'd put the pills in the oats. I'd give him the oats. He'd spit out every pill and eat the oats. It was weird. So the next day, the ranch hand said, I'm going to soak all these supplements you're saying he needs each meal in a bucket. I'm going to suck it up in a big syringe and inject it down his throat. He did that every day. And I said, do it every day. And in 1 month, I'm going to come back here and test the horse.
Whoa.
Remember, this horse was supposed to be lame and put down. Within 1 month, 4 weeks later, I go back out there. I've already heard reports and I couldn't wait to see it. This horse comes running out of the stall with his head up. And I was like, whoa, that horse is ginormous. I mean, before his head was down, so I was at his shoulder height. This horse was like 19 hands, whatever. It was ginormous. Okay, I retested the horse, gave it again what it needed at like half the dose as the month before. He did that for another 2 months. Not a joke. 3 months later, after 4 years of limping and physical therapy, drugs, medicine, surgery, you name it, and hundreds of thousands of dollars of treatment. Within 3 months, Jesse calls Jane to tell Jane the veterinarian and ranch hand just called and said, the horse, we don't know how this has happened. The horse is completely cured. You can now ride your horse. And she got to ride that horse for another 4 years. How incredible is that? Now, just so you know, you can't do placebo with animals.
Correct.
There's no, the horse believes I'm going to heal him. It was only a placebo effect is what they want to say about humans. Oh, no. This one action got the ex-husband of Jane, her 2 youngest daughters. They don't do anything with asking me on behalf of their health, their husband's health, their children's health. They want to know, what do I say first? Because they always say this, did you see what he did to the horse? You remember what he did with the horse, right? You really think he can save grandma and grandpa? Do you really think he can help with this? Did you see what he did with the horse? He did that with a horse. Yeah, when nobody else could figure it out. I just want y'all to know, you can become even superhuman for your pets. People brought me their parrots, their dogs, their rabbits, their cats, and be like, hey, can you test my dog and tell me what my veterinarian can't figure out? Says this needs to be put down. Can you tell me? Tumors, all kinds of stuff would resolve within weeks just from doing the muscle testing that we did with them.
Incredible.
The healing aspect of conventional medicine is not the only way to heal. And anybody out there who even believes in Jesus Christ should know that. You celebrate healing stories throughout the New Testament as the greatest miracles in that thing that get you to fall in love with this guy. And he didn't use a single prescription to heal anybody.
Correct.
So healing does not come from drugs, people. Even Jesus knew that. So you should know healing comes from within. healing comes from without, and there are energies, frequencies, spirituality. There's all kinds of stuff you can use to actually improve your experience, the living experience of your loved ones, even your pets. You want to be a superhuman? Be somebody who can guide, analyze, and assist people and their pets, maybe through things they would never otherwise be able to reclaim from, escape from, even if it's just emotional. It's going to be an amazing event. I look forward to being there with you.
It's going to be absolutely incredible. And I think what you shared here today was originally I had this plan. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that plan because it's really good. And I love this. And I'm going to share this far and wide because I think a lot of people can learn a lot even from this of breaking limiting beliefs and what they think is impossible because it's the main thing that stops us from healing. It's like, yeah, you were told you can't do this, so you can't, but you could. And you prove that a lot. So I see a lot of people asking questions about the event. Where is it? When is it? All that. So I'm going to share my screen right here. If anybody's interested, you can go to my website, jasonshurka.com, and you'll see a little button right here when you go to jasonshurka.com. It's going to be right here. Aaron Abke, myself, Bryan Ardis here on the live. Robert Edward Grant is going to be added very soon. We're just finalizing a few things. And when you click learn more, it will teach you everything you got to know about the event, including everything that you heard about here. Miami, Florida, at the Miami Convention Center, right next to the Hyatt Regency downtown. We do have a room block as well to give discounted prices and whatnot on hotel rooms. January 16, 17, and 18 is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And right now there are early bird tickets, 444 spots. So make sure to get your ticket while you can. Make sure to check out this site to learn more about the event. And one really exciting thing with the light system technology, not only it's going to be there with a 32 unit system, but when you do get your ticket, you're also entered into a raffle to get either the light system pyramid or the light system cube, and both will be raffled off at the event to people who come to the event. So we look forward to sharing that with you. Make sure to check out the website, see what everybody's bringing. You also get Bryan Ardis's best-selling book, which is a name that I cannot say on this platform, but it's very good. And I have a new book coming out called The Activation that's going to be coming with a ticket as well when you all come. So make sure to check out the website. You could see testimonials from last year's event, frequently asked questions, and so on and so forth. And we did implement one really cool thing for anybody that's interested. If it's easier for you to spread out the payments of a ticket over time, we do have payment plans. Just check it out on the site. It's all available at checkout. And really, any question that you have should be answered on the site. If it isn't, just reach out on the contact form and somebody from the team will get in touch with you to answer those questions. So make sure to check it out. Becoming Superhuman, January 16, 17, 18 in Miami, Florida. Myself, Dr. Ardis, Aaron Abke, and soon to be Robert Edward Grant. Bryan, you're awesome. I love you. If you have any last words,
Love
now's the
you.
time to share them.
I love you, and you have all the potential to heal and help others heal. Period. You don't need anybody else. You and God can do it. Don't worry. We'll help you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see you all in Miami. Get your rear ends there. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. Get to Miami right now. Go get your tickets. Hurry up before they sell out. I don't want to hear y'all whining and complaining. You didn't get a book. You didn't get to hang out with us. That's your fault. You waited too long. All right, hurry up.
Thank you.